Today, Notsam Wrestling, Cody cuts a promo as a wrestling fan for the wrestling fans. Charlotte and Tiffany take the next step. Jey and Gunther take the next step. But what do you expect? It's Wrestlemania week. Swerve Strickland is still not the AEW champion. We'll talk about it all. This is Notsam Wrestling. Welcome to Notsam Wrestling, and I will start by saying we have made it. Welcome to Notsam Wrestling, and welcome to WrestleMania week, the greatest week that one could possibly be a professional wrestling fan is upon us. Welcome to WrestleMania week. Of course, I'm here now in the Notsam studio, but by Wednesday night, I will be in Las Vegas, Nevada, getting to soak in everything that is Las Vegas. I let it out on social media, but as you know, I've got a live Notsam Wrestling podcast that is coming to Las Vegas for WrestleMania week. This Thursday, we will be at the Comedy Cellar at the Rio in Las Vegas. You can get tickets by going to notsam.com and clicking the ticket link. It's on Ticketmaster. Search for it. Find it. However you want to get there, get there. We will have exclusive Notsam Wrestling Las Vegas t-shirts. A very small batch is being made. I'm going to sell them in Las Vegas. I'm going to hope that I don't have any to bring home. And that'll be it as far as those shirts go. And even more important, I made the big guest announcement. Penta Zero Miedo will be with me in Las Vegas at the Comedy Cellar for the live Notsam Wrestling podcast. If you haven't gotten your tickets yet, get your tickets now. We will be there all weekend long, of course. There will be not only a Raw recap this Monday, not only a Raw recap for the show after Raw, and of course the Raw recap is the podcast that I do with Megan Morant with Fanatics for WWE. It's got its own audio feed. If you're listening to this, you can listen to Raw recap wherever you got this. It's on WWE's YouTube channel as well. We will also be doing recap podcasts after not one, but both nights, Saturday and Sunday, of WrestleMania 41. And I'll be doing a whole bunch more while I'm out there. But if you want to make sure that we get a chance to interact, that we get a chance to press the flesh, the live Notsam Wrestling podcast is the place to be. Of course, who knows if Andrew Schultz will be at WrestleMania. I posted on the Notsam Wrestling YouTube channel the wrestling portion of the interview that he and I had on my SiriusXM morning show, which was a hefty portion. So check that out whenever you get a chance, because we have a lot to talk about as we march right in to WrestleMania 41. Of course, coming off of WrestleMania 40, let's contextualize this, because for 2 months now, people have been commenting on the build, on the WrestleMania build. Well, all that talk is over, because this is it. This is go home week. We are now heading towards Las Vegas, Nevada, heading towards WrestleMania 41, coming off of what by most numerical facts look like the biggest and best WrestleMania of all time, WrestleMania 40. And how do you top it? Well, the attempt is going to be made this week in Las Vegas at WrestleMania 41. And of course, the main event of Sunday night, night 2, WrestleMania 41, is Cody Rhodes versus John Cena. And this was a main event that a lot of people theorized that we would get. What most people did not theorize that we would get is that it would be a heel John Cena, an ultra heel John Cena versus an ultra babyface, as usual, Cody Rhodes. And even the skeptics, as this journey has gone on, have questioned what the story is here, John Cena's motives as a heel. Who is this? Because a lot of, especially when you talk about something that's this big, you have to be able to hit somebody with an elevator pitch. Cody Rhodes versus John Cena at WrestleMania 41 is a main event that is designed to not only be something that us hardcores can just, watch and bathe in, but something that's somebody that hasn't watched wrestling in 15 years can turn on. What's the deal with these two? And you got to be able to tell them. You know, when you look at the great main events of WrestleMania. Probably starts with WrestleMania 3, Hogan and Andre. What's the deal here? Well, Andre was mad that even though he was undefeated, Hogan never gave him a title shot. So now he's come for his title shot. Oh, I understand. WrestleMania 5, well, Macho Man Randy Savage won the WWE Championship in a tournament at WrestleMania 4, but the Mega Powers collided. There was jealousy over the Macho Man's manager, Miss Elizabeth. Oh, okay. WrestleMania 6, Hogan and Warrior, passing of the torch. You know, some of the next, I might miss some, but you probably get to WrestleMania 12, Bret and Shawn. It was the traditional, classic wrestler who's worked all his life to be in the position that he's in versus the young upstart that nobody thought would get to the position that he's in, and the boyhood dream came true. You can go to WrestleMania 15, 17, not the main event, but also 19, Austin and Rock. Doesn't take a lot to figure out what Austin and Rock are fighting over. Cody and Roman Reigns. Doesn't take a lot to figure out what Cody and Roman Reigns are fighting over. So what are Cody Rhodes and John Cena fighting over? Because when we drafted this, when us provocateurs, when us opiners, commentators, if you will, when we theorized that it could be Cody Rhodes versus John Cena, most of us said it'll probably be babyface versus babyface, and it's Cody looking to hold on to the title that he had to work so hard to get from Roman Reigns versus John Cena, who wants to set the record and get 17 championships. And that was enough for all of us. But this has become much more complicated. This has become, there's much more meat on this bone than that. This is no longer this sort of friendly exposition of the history of the last 20 years, 15 years of WWE. No. There's a very specific good guy versus bad guy story going on with Cody Rhodes and John Cena. And I thought that Cody Rhodes did an absolutely wonderful job on SmackDown. Just him and a microphone and 2 tables full of belts in a ring with an opportunity to sell anybody who has not bought into this match on what this match is. John Cena came out. The first time he came out, we've seen John Cena 3 times. First time John Cena came out, he said that he was breaking up with the fans. He hated us. We were terrible people. Second time John Cena came out, he kind of talked about how this was all a social experiment, that he knew he was manipulating us the whole time, the fans. He knew what he was doing, and sometimes we reacted appropriately and he rewarded us, and other times we reacted negatively and he punished us. And he talked about the Spinner Championship and how he gave us something that was new, that was fresh, and we took a big steaming dump all over it. And he hated that. And so his plan is to ruin wrestling for us and for all the wrestlers in the back. On the surface, he's saying, I'm going to ruin wrestling by winning the championship, retiring the championship. And then the reason that you all hated my spinner title was you thought it was a toy. Now, when I retire as champion, whoever holds the title next, the title will be a toy because the legacy retires with me. What he's really saying, and why he's saying he's going to ruin it for all the wrestlers as well, is I'm going to stop and ruin the time-honored tradition. I'm going to come in here, and instead of putting someone over on my way out, I'm going to win on my way out, and I'm going to take it all with me. I'm going to be selfish as I leave professional wrestling. And then in the third week, we saw John Cena. He and Cody got into it, had a great back and forth, and John defined what his problems were with Cody Rhodes specifically, and Cody started to define exactly what he was fighting against John Cena for. This week on SmackDown, we get Cody on his own. We're going to get John Cena on the SmackDown in Vegas before WrestleMania. That was confirmed. So that'll be the last time those two go face-to-face, 48 hours before they main event night 2. But where we started this conversation with Cody on SmackDown was Cody reflecting on John Cena talking about the tattoo. You know, Cody predicted that John Cena would make fun of him for getting, as he put it, an arm tattoo on his neck. But John Cena says it's not where the tattoo is, it's what it is. You got a tattoo of your own gimmick because you're a fan. Basically, he called Cody a mark. And what I had said about that was, I thought it was a genius move, because what you're doing is basically you're taking this thing and going, John, when you got that tattoo, it made you a common fan. And now you've separated the roles, right? In that one statement, John Cena has clearly stated that he sees himself in an elevated place as compared to the average WWE fan. That John Cena sees himself as above it. John Cena sees himself as a superstar, whereas Cody Rhodes is just a fan. He said, what are we? We're just fans. So who are we going to cheer for? The guy who thinks he's better than us and a superstar? Or the guy that has been established is one of us, that his biggest flaw is that he's one of us? We're going to cheer for one of us. And Cody took that nugget and created the kind of foundation of what his statement on SmackDown was, his thesis for where he's going with this. Basically, Cody talked about, you know, the fact that he was now coupled in with a fan. Cody acknowledged that. Cody owned that. He's now, and he talked about how John Cena wants to ruin wrestling, right? And he started to spin this tale that puts him in this position where not only is he one of us, but now he's not just fighting to keep his championship. He's fighting to stop wrestling from being ruined. You know, Cody talked about how as champion, he sees himself being in a place where he is there to give to the next and give to the next and give to the next. He didn't say that he felt like as champion, he's the guy. He's the one and only. As a matter of fact, he went a step further. He said, yeah, I call myself the captain. But then he started listing all the other main event talent on the WWE roster and the talent that he's surrounded by and the universe that they have created. He talked about being the champion and then carrying it on to the next guy and the next guy, and talked about how he was elevating the championship so that it elevated it for the next person to get it, so that they may elevate it for the person after, so that they may elevate it for the person after, setting up the fact that his job as champion is to bring this business to the highest place possible, not so he can get credit for it, but so that the business continues to grow and prosper long after he's gone. That this was not about him being a gatekeeper and setting the standard that was impossible to beat. Where John Cena said, you wish you were me, I gave you the blueprint and you're screwing it up. Cody Rhodes said, no, I'm elevating the business so that the next guy who gets the title from me can elevate it even further, so that we can all leave the business better than it was when we found it. He's acknowledging that he's not just fighting for the championship. He's fighting for wrestling. Cody is fighting for us. John Cena has acknowledged that he's not just fighting to become the 17-time champion. He is specifically fighting against us. This has become a battle where these two are fighting for the future of wrestling. One wanting to make it better for us, one wanting to take it away from us. And there may not be a better set of people to tell that story than John Cena and Cody Rhodes. Because as much as the comparison is made, as much as you say, well, Cody Rhodes is like the new modern John Cena, Cody Rhodes is it, the reality is that Cody Rhodes did have to carve his own path completely. And only once he had carved his own path, and only once had he proven that he could reach higher levels outside of the WWE than were even available to reach before he left the WWE. Only once he had proven that impossible feat was he able to come back and be a top guy. John Cena, while yes, everything wasn't roses for him, the reality is that by WrestleMania 20, when he wins the United States Championship from the Big Show, there is a machine behind him. So much so that by design, at WrestleMania 21, he's able to win the championship. And by design, he's able to be that guy for the next 10 plus years. And John Cena is right. The methodology that was used to get him to that place was unkind. John Cena was not protected. John Cena was shoved into the deep end without a flotation device. John Cena was not protected from any wrestlers. John Cena was not protected from any audiences. John Cena was very often put in positions where, yeah, he's the top guy, but someone else like The Rock is here, and you're going to have to figure out how to convince this audience that you're still a top guy when they leave. Somebody like CM Punk gets hot, and yeah, we're going to let him get that hot, and you're going to have to figure out how to explain to the audience that you're still the top guy after CM Punk is wearing the title. And that's difficult, but it's a different journey than Cody Rhodes had to travel. And the journey that Cody Rhodes had to travel is more one that we can relate to because we were a part of the entire journey. And you don't know how Cody will feel later in life. What's great about this promo is the foundation of it is him declaring what his intention is right now. But 10 years from now, if Cody's still a top guy, maybe he won't want to give it to somebody. It's one thing to say, I'm at the top of my game right now, and my plan is to go until I'm no longer at the top of my game and then hand the baton to somebody else. But how often do you hear that from people when they're at the top of their game, but once it comes time to hand the baton, they don't hand the baton? That's the beauty of where WWE is right now, that 10 years from now, we could reflect on this promo and realize that Cody's not a man of his word. But as of this weekend, that's the Cody that we've got and that we're getting and that is being truthful, I think. Cody goes over all the championships. We see Bruno's belt. We see Hogan's belt. We see the Winged Eagle belt, the Big Eagle belt, Eddie and Brock's undisputed championship, and even the spinner title. And what was really interesting about this, and I love this, right? Because I've said it on Raw Recap, I've said it here, that the truth is that when that spinner title came out, all of us that are from my generation, we were all poo-pooing it. We were all talking about what a monstrosity it was. But there's a whole generation of kids that are ruthless aggression era kids. There's a whole generation of people that are about 10 years younger than me, that they kind of grew up with the undisputed and the spinner belt. At 15 years younger than me, you 100% the spinner belt was your belt. It's not like John Cena was the only one who held it. It was John Cena's. It was CM Punk's. It was Edge's slightly altered. It was the Miz's with the locked M. Batista held the spinner belt. There were a lot of people that held that spinner belt for a whole generation. They go, no, that is the WWE Championship. That's what I'm nostalgic for because that's what I grew up with. And Cody's aware of that. Cody appreciates more than anybody what nostalgia is because he truly is a fan. He's somebody that grew up a fan. So instead of trashing it, instead of saying, yeah, and John Cena, you ruined it all by introducing this spinner title, he says, no. I love the spinner title. He said the spinner title, it exemplifies somebody new coming in and trying something new and trying to reinvent the wheel. And that's what we need in wrestling. He not only gave credence to the fact that the spinner title is as important to the history of championships as any of the other belts that he had in front of him, but that John Cena's reign was important and that John Cena as a champion is important. Cody Rhodes is not playing a fan that's pretending the John Cena era never happened. Cody Rhodes is playing a fan that is well aware that John Cena had to hold the company on his back at a time, for a very, very long time, when creatively the company was not in the greatest shape in the world. And he was the top guy that had to keep things rolling, and he did. And that's it's insanely impressive. But Cody's a fan. Cody and John Cena are coming from honest places. John Cena's right. We did boo him. But Cody's right. He was important. There's a reason why now, before he turned heel, we were all cheering him. And we were all, showing such great reverence to him. I just think it's really amazing that whole promo on SmackDown and everything about this showcases how much Cody Rhodes loves pro wrestling. And it's not just because he grew up in pro wrestling, but the remarkable thing is that Cody's proximity to wrestling never eclipsed his fandom of wrestling. He was never so close to it that he stopped being a fan of it. And I would argue that even as the top guy, even as WWE champion, even as somebody who is walking in to his third consecutive Night 2 WrestleMania main event, his fourth consecutive WrestleMania main event overall, that he's still a fan. And when you talk about authenticity, it's there. Cody Rhodes, wearing a three-piece suit with a pocket watch, with a nepotistic lineage, being the WWE's guy, the poster boy for the WWE, is still one of the most relatable people on the roster. He's still somehow the most relatable person that's been in that top guy position that he's in decades, in so long. Why? Because Cody is a fan, and we are fans, and we smell out fake, and we know that guy's a fan, and he acts like a fan because he is a fan, and we're fans, and that's the connective tissue. John Cena's a superstar. He's above us. That's what the story is ultimately all about. The selfish superstar who wants to make it all about himself and take it all for him versus the fans who, like us, made it. And ultimately, the hardcores, us super fans, me, I get off on just seeing the business get bigger and better. That's what we want. Whether we want it because we love the business or whether we want it because selfishly, we just want the show to get better and bigger and gooder. More gooder. That is the fight that Cody Rhodes is fighting very realistically in the ring at WrestleMania. It's as pure and modern as a story could be told. It is exemplary of the way stories are told in the WWE right now, because it is real life. However, at the same time, it is the most traditional good guy versus bad guy wrestling story that we've had in the main event of a WrestleMania in years. It's as unique an experience as I remember in a very long time. And I cannot wait to see how it pans out in less than a week. And it's crazy that we're going to see it in less than a week. But while we're talking about stories, I was keyed into SmackDown, not just for this Cody thing, but to see what direction they went in with Charlotte and Tiffany. We talked about this last week on the podcast, and this was another one, by the way, that people were like, hey, Sam, because I came from the approach of, look, I know that it didn't feel like on television as we're watching, Charlotte and Tiffany did not feel like the promo went the way the promo was supposed to go. But ultimately, as the days went on, it was the match that people were talking about. as I was approached by my most casual of wrestling fan friends. They said, "Oh, that Charlotte and Tiffany thing, huh?" It did increase interest in the match. And what I said was that, while, yeah, it didn't go the way it seemed like it was planned to go or should have gone. It was messy. It was uncomfortable. But it left me, and I know a lot of people like me, going, I want to see these two fight. And ultimately, that's what tickets are being sold to see. And people, they come at me again. They always come at me. They don't understand. I'm 3 steps ahead of you, okay? I'm to borrow a quote from the great Seth Rollins, I'm a bit of a visionary. What can I tell you, okay? Just trust me on some things. That maybe when I see this Tiffany Charlotte thing, I'm not just, looking at it with rainbow-colored glasses. I'm going, you got 2 episodes of TV after this, and then a match at WrestleMania. This has gone from, just 2 athletic women, one who's the present, one who's the future, who's going to be the champion, into a blood feud right in front of our eyes, because nobody knows how real or scripted anything is in this story anymore, and I don't know that it matters. So what I'm saying is, keep it to yourself in the comments, Oh, no, you got to criticize it sometimes. I'll criticize it when it stops getting the point across. You know what I mean? I'll criticize it when people start going, well, now I don't want to see Charlotte and Tiffany, because that's what nobody's saying. I didn't hear it anyway. Maybe people are. I didn't hear it. That's the one thing I didn't hear. Anybody saying, well, now I don't want to see this match. No, it was, it was weird. It was uncomfortable. I mean, it felt unprofessional. But I kind of want to see this match now, and I don't know if I did before. That was at the most, that's what I heard. Not the reverse whatsoever. Even people who were like, yeah, I'm really looking forward to it, they were like, yeah, now I'm really looking forward to it for a totally different reason. Nobody was like, I was really looking forward to it, but now, no, it's not for me. That wasn't said. So we're not in trouble, okay? And we live in a reality now where that happened. So we have to come off of what happened. We're not going to go to SmackDown and just have a traditional wrestling promo angle, whatever lingo you want to throw in there. Instead, footage gets leaked on social media leading up to SmackDown where Tiffany got jumped by Charlotte in the parking lot. It was a parking lot brawl. No official WWE camera people there. Everything was caught on cell phone video. Everything was put out on Twitter accounts. And it got out quick. Very similar to when Kevin Owens attacked Cody Rhodes after Bad Blood. And there were no official WWE cameras there. Just cell phone footage that kind of went everywhere on the internet and nobody took credit for it. So this happens and they don't show the footage on TV because it's not their footage. But they do say, old Joe Tess on the 1s and 2s lets us know that Charlotte and Tiffany both that Charlotte was asked to go home and that Charlotte and Tiffany are both facing disciplinary action based on the unprofessional conduct in which they conducted themselves last week. Not the unprofessional conduct in the parking lot. They said Charlotte, because she jumped Tiffany in the parking lot, was sent home. But they're facing disciplinary actions because they were unprofessional last week. So now this thing, and I love this because this is when our intelligence is not being insulted. This thing that we all saw, nobody's being gaslit by anything. We all saw it happen. We all talked about it all week. And they said, yeah, it was unprofessional. And they are facing disciplinary actions, and they hate each other. But they're telling us on the TV show in the build-up to this match. So now, are we watching a story, or are we watching a reflection on what really happened? Or is it all one thing, and everything counts, and it doesn't matter? Everybody was talking about how, but on the WWE's YouTube channel, they edited out the stuff about Charlotte saying Kaiser was in her DMs. They edited out when Tiffany said that Charlotte was 0-3 in marriages. All this stuff that felt very uncomfortable. Charlotte doing the squeaky voice. They edit this out of the WWE's YouTube. And of course, the pundits, and by the way, maybe the pundits were right at the time, but the pundits, they say, well, this is not what the WWE expected. They went way off book, so they edited it out of the YouTube. They edited it out of the WWE's YouTube video. And the implication when somebody hears that is WWE doesn't even want to acknowledge that it happened. They're trying to erase that from history. But what happens now is by doing the brawl in the parking lot and by Joe Test going on commentary and saying that they were unprofessional last week and are facing disciplinary actions, now the same authoritative body that is part of the storyline that is giving them disciplinary actions doesn't take mental gymnastics to say that that same fictional disciplinary body is the same disciplinary body that made it so that that footage was edited off the YouTube video. So now all of it fits into this narrative that's on the show. All the editing that was done as a shoot is now kayfabe. Was it kayfabe then? Or was it a shoot then and it's kayfabe now? Doesn't matter. This is new kayfabe. That's what new kayfabe is. New kayfabe is allowing you to believe that something is real, and it might be real. But then understanding that this is where the conversation is. So this is the story that we're telling. New kayfabe tells you a story and then continues the story based on the way it's being responded to. Because we live in a world where everybody's got a private media sector. A Twitter account is a form of media. It's called social media. Everybody's got a publishing wing. Every wrestling fan that can buy a ticket also has a publishing wing. And they can post out their opinions on what they just saw. And when they post that out, it could be seen by one person, could be seen by 2 people, could be seen by 2,000 people, could be seen by 2 million people. The point is that the conversation happens, and that internet conversation goes very quickly into an arena. And all of a sudden, now, whether it was intended to be part of a story or not, it is part of a story. And that is new kayfabe. Everything counts. Everything counts. Not everything's going to be used, but everything can be used. Everything counts. So Tiffany beats Roxanne Perez. Charlotte comes out and jumps her. I loved seeing Charlotte in her street clothes, t-shirt, workout pants, no queen, no robe, no all hail the queen. None of it. Just jump out of the crowd and beat the stuffing out of Tiffany Stratton. And get up on that commentary table and talk that ish. And now we get to a place where I don't know if it's Tiffany versus Charlotte. I don't know if it's Ashley. I don't know if it's, whatever Tiffany Stratton's real name. Who knows? The point is that we're all lost, or maybe not lost, but in this place where instead of seeing, okay, I just want to see, like 2 people have a great match. Now it's like, I can't wait to see these 2 people who hate each other. There's a 2-level approach. One of it is, I can't wait to see how these 2 characters put on a great professional wrestling match. Then the other side of it, right under the surface, is how are these 2 women that legitimately hate each other going to put on a show? And both of those conversations lead us to wanting to see the match. Do they hate each other for real? I don't know. Is this all a story? I don't know. Are they making up for the fact that everything went wrong, that it was supposed to be one thing and now it's a different thing? I don't know. It doesn't matter. The destination is all that counts. Where we land is the only thing that counts. If you buy plane tickets to go to Hawaii and you land in Alaska, you just flew to Alaska. I don't care where you intended to go. At the end of the day, you flew to Alaska, and that's where you landed. And maybe Alaska's great this time of year, and maybe it's the wrong destination entirely and everybody's screwed up. But we'll figure that out when we get there. There's no longer a generational battle. It's not present versus future. Now we just want to see, and I just want to see, these two women tear each other apart, and that's the best kind of story. When you're just sitting there, and you're like, no. When you can sit there in Allegiant Stadium, and you can lean over to the person next to you and go, yeah, no, these two hate each other for real. I mean, how many times do we have to hear that? For somebody to say, no, wrestling is at its best. When they go, no, all this other stuff is fake. They're really friends. But these two, no. This is real. Hey, guys, we'll get right back to it. But I want to talk to you first. When you're totally out of time to cook, you don't have time to just go hungry, right? Check out today's sponsor. It's Huel. Huel, we love Huel. They're a complete meal in a bottle that you can take on the go with 35 grams of protein and 27 vitamins and minerals. Huel, it tastes like a milkshake, but it gives your body everything that it needs. It comes in both chocolate and vanilla, so you can find your favorite. Look, I'm a very busy guy. I need a lot of protein intake for when I'm getting beefy at the gym, but also I'm a picky eater. This is why Huel is so good for me. Get ready for Huel to become your new favorite meal. Join the community of Hooligans with this exclusive offer for new customers of 15% off plus a free gift using my exclusive code NOTSAM at Huel.com. That's 15% off plus a free gift for new customers using my exclusive code NOTSAM at Huel.com. Please see our description for the terms and conditions. Unlock a healthier, easier way to eat with Huel. Nutritionally complete meals in minutes so you can focus on what really matters. All of a sudden, this Charlotte and Tiffany match has become a major attraction. And I don't know how they got here, but they got here, and they are here. So here we go. I mean, look at the Jey Uso and Gunther situation. The amount of people, and this goes back to it, huh? Do I need to pat myself on the back again? Yes, because nobody else is going to do it. I do this thing. I told you last week where I said, there is a world where Jey and Gunther could be a main event. It was a thought exercise. It was a, can you imagine if? It was just a throw the ball around, what if conversation. And they go on Twitter. They make a clip of it. They go, this guy's an idiot. Who would listen to this podcast? Who let him have that studio? I built it. That's who let me have this studio. I built it, and then they came into it. That's who let me have this studio. I don't know if they ever actually asked that question, but I just thought I should put it out there. All of a sudden now, that is a conversation. I was there 2 weeks ago. Now there is a conversation. Maybe this should be the main event. I don't know. This story now, all of a sudden, and the same thing with the Charlotte and Tiffany thing. I don't know. This WrestleMania build ain't it. This Charlotte and Tiffany thing sure got interesting, huh? Boy, this Jey and Gunther thing sure got interesting, huh? It's almost as if they knew WrestleMania was on April 19th and 20th. So 2 weeks ago, we get the Jey Gunther segment. We talked about it last week. It was amazing. Gunther is just beating Jimmy Uso limb from limb. Jimmy is bleeding. Gunther is smearing Jimmy's blood all over all over Gunther's own body. You can't tell who's bleeding and who got bled upon. An amazing, amazing classic build to WrestleMania type of segment where Jey is just zip tied onto the ropes, no place to go. He can't do it. He can't do anything to save his brother, and Gunther is humiliating him, dangling the championship in front of his face, choking Jimmy Uso, unconscious, just close enough to his brother, where his brother is within inches of reaching him, but not close enough where Jey will ever be able to reach him. It was a game-changing segment. And I said that is exactly what this rivalry needed. But it needed something else, and we got that something else on Raw last week, which is depth from Jey Uso. Give me more from Jey Uso, it was. It's not enough to tell me, well, Jey started as a tag team wrestler, now he's a singles wrestler. And Jey was never supposed to be in a main event, now he's in a main event. Twitter doesn't think he can do it, but I think he can do it. That's not enough. Now, we have something visceral. Now we have family involvement. Now we have something that is centralized into Jey Uso and Gunther that goes far beyond Jey proving it to the haters, that goes far beyond, Gunther being a dominant champion. Now it's deeply, deeply personal. Jey Uso comes out in black. He's got black glasses on. He's got a black shirt on. He's not even yeeting with the audience. And he starts talking to Gunther, and the audience is yeeting with him. And Jey is trying to tell him to chill out, but they won't stop yeeting. I get it. Yeeting is very contagious, but when Jey is telling you to chill out, just do the guy a favor and chill out a little bit. This is main event Jey Uso we're talking about anyway. And he starts talking about his mom. He goes, Gunther, you got a mom? You got a mom, Gunther? And I'm like, is Jey going to talk about Gunther's mom? And by the way, Gunther is just putting on the performance of a lifetime. Talk about adding depth to a character. Gunther shows up, and he's smiling ear to ear. He's in a suit. He's got his jacket off. As Jey is coming down looking all upset, Gunther is smiling. He starts rolling up his sleeves like, all right, come on in. I'm going to give you a beating like I gave your brother a beating. And Jey starts talking in a way that, and I think this is where Jey tends to really shine, when he's vulnerable. When he shows that vulnerability that you can't help but be connected to. And he starts talking about his own mother. And he said, I had to tell my mother that I watched what happened to my brother happen to my brother. I had to tell her what you did. And she said, why didn't you save him, Joshua? And his voice is breaking. And he brings up Joshua, his real name, not his stage name, not his character name. Joshua. That's Joshua Fatu we're talking about. That's not even Jey Uso anymore. And Gunther's face starts to change. Not all the way, but it starts to change. He goes, man, I really affected this guy. And Jey Uso said, and I had to tell her I didn't help Jimmy. And I thought he was going to say, because I was tied up, because I was this. He said, because I was scared. And you're going, whoa. He's just straight up telling him he was scared. But that's when Jey says, but I'm not scared anymore. And he's looking straight at Gunther in the eyes. And Gunther realizes in this moment he may have made a mistake. All of the smile disappears from Gunther. Gunther, just in that moment, realizes the severity of what he actually did to this Jey Uso. And that he has foundationally changed Jey Uso. That he has created a traumatic incident in the brain of Jey Uso that will never be erased. And all of the hurt and the anger and the shame that Jey Uso has is going to spill out in a violent display of aggression at WrestleMania, and he will be on the other side of it. And the ring general hasn't had that before, because the ring general doesn't get personal with his opponents. The ring general says, I have a job to do. I'm going to go to the ring. I'm going to beat you. The ring general made a mistake. He stepped out of his own comfort zone, and he attacked Jimmy Uso for no reason that will help him win at WrestleMania. He bloodied Jimmy Uso. He humiliated Jey Uso. And now by stepping out of his comfort zone, by stepping out of the place where it's just business and it's a sport and he's going to win, and turning it into something personal, he's awakened this beast inside Jey Uso. Where now, if you were like, hey, Jey, some of the fans on Twitter don't think you can do it, this character would tell you, why would I care? I don't know anything about Twitter. I haven't been on Twitter. I can't get the thought of my brother bleeding and being choked unconscious in front of me out of my head. And you're talking about Twitter? Oos? What? Yeet? Huh? No. And now Gunther sees that. You know, I mean, yeah, it was this moment of somehow by being as brutal as we've ever seen Gunther being, Jey simply pointing out, do you understand what you did? Gunther snaps out of it and he realizes the severity of what he did to Jimmy. He realizes how people respond to things like what he did to Jimmy Uso, and that those are ramifications that he's going to have to deal with in Las Vegas with his world title on the line. You know, we had Gunther booked already, you know. We generally get guests booked for the Raw Recap podcast the day of. Like, we have a little conversation about it, then we reach out to the powers that be over there, and we get our guests that way. And it's always interesting because we really do have these guests zoom into the podcast from backstage in the arena or from their bus or from wherever they are, but it's right after these things happen on television. And you never know with that show if it's going to go more in a direction of a shoot, of a real life thing where we're talking to this person about the character they're playing, or if it's still going to be like, well, it's still kind of in character, or if things have just gotten so muddled, we don't know. And Gunther refused to talk about Jey Uso on this Raw recap. In my head, I'm saying, okay, the reason to have him on the podcast is just to continue the hype, get even more hype going about this Gunther-Jey Uso match. And Gunther won't talk about him. I mean, it's the weirdest interview we've done in the 6 weeks we've been on the air with that show. It was so uncomfortable. He wouldn't talk about Jey at all and then decided to end the interview. The only thing left to do with Jey Uso versus Gunther now is get it in the ring. You know, and that's going to be the real test, right? A lot of people were very critical about the Jey Uso versus Jimmy Uso match at WrestleMania. Expectations were high. Many people feel like those expectations were not met. Jey has talked about how he felt like the expectations that he set for himself weren't met. Now we've got a reason to watch this thing, and it's not just can Jey be in a world title match at WrestleMania. It's the story, which, as you know, is what it's all about. This story has escalated and escalated and escalated to the point where a huge WrestleMania match is what's needed to put a bow on it. And if you can have a great blow-off match to this story, you've got an all-timer as far as stories go. And people didn't think it was going to get there. All you got to do now is have that match to put a bow on this story. And I can't wait. I can't wait to see it. I think it's going to be great. I hope it's going to be great. Once again, I'm walking into WrestleMania with high expectations. Let's take a look at the WrestleMania card as we know it. On SmackDown, not only did we get it broken up into what's on Saturday and what's on Sunday, but we also found out who is inducting the members of the Hall of Fame class this year. So Saturday, the main event of WrestleMania Saturday is, of course, CM Punk versus Roman Reigns versus Seth Rollins. And man, the closer we get to this match, the more I feel like it is Seth Rollins' match to win. I feel like we are 10 years removed from the heist of the century. WrestleMania 31 was 10 years ago. Seth Rollins has done nothing but sacrifice to make things bigger. He has used every skill he has as a professional wrestler to make things bigger around him. Seth Rollins has been an extremely unselfish performer in a very real way for years, to the point where I think people don't realize how truly good he is. He doesn't get nearly enough credit, I think, because he's very unselfish as a performer. The closer this match gets, the more I think Seth Rollins is going to win the triple threat main event on Saturday. And I think we can lead off of that. He'll have problems with Punk. He'll have problems with Roman. Who knows, you know? I mean, I wouldn't be shocked if we end up doing some kind of emergency pod after Raw to give my final thoughts on where this triple threat match is going. I believe Roman Reigns is going to be on Raw. So I feel like there'll be stuff to talk about there. But as of now, I mean, I don't know that Paul Heyman owes Seth Rollins a favor because Seth Rollins didn't stomp on his head. But I really wouldn't be surprised if something big happened with Seth Rollins at WrestleMania. Jey Uso versus Gunther. I feel like Jey Uso has to win. I think if Gunther walks out of WrestleMania the World Heavyweight Champion, Jay's dead in the water. And that's the last thing you want. I don't think it has to be a year-long title reign for Jey. I think we can take it, kind of one day at a time. But I think you'll get that moment. And I think if Jey can have a good, 2-3 month reign, unless it's really working, and then let him have it for a year. I don't care. If it's great, let him keep going. But I'm not even thinking about that right now. I'm thinking about the fact that as it is set up, it is hard for me to see a scenario where Jey doesn't win the World Heavyweight Championship at WrestleMania from Gunther. I think Charlotte beats Tiffany Stratton. I think that Charlotte as the heel beating Tiffany Stratton would be better for Tiffany Stratton. I think the idea is that Charlotte talks about integrity. I think she cheats. I think Charlotte cheats to win. And going forward, we better establish and cement Charlotte and Tiffany as Charlotte is a heel and Tiffany is a babyface. I would like to see eventually Tiffany beat Charlotte, win the championship as a babyface. We didn't get that moment. We got a good cash in, but she hasn't ever fully committed to being a babyface. I think if Tiffany can lose the title, come out as a true babyface, start working as a true babyface, and eventually beat Charlotte to get her title back, that's the direction I'd like to see it going. LA Knight versus Jacob Fatu. There are those, that's also going on Saturday. There are those that say Solo Sikoa may turn on Jacob Fatu. I would not like to see that. If it's one-on-one, I think WrestleMania becomes the crowning moment for Jacob. I think WrestleMania is it. You want to say, okay, a year from now, we've got somebody in Jacob Fatu who we're looking at as a potential world heavyweight champion. I would even say, who knows, maybe I don't know when the draft is, but if there's a draft soon after WrestleMania, maybe you switch your Intercontinental Champion and your United States Champion. Jey Uso is now on, Jacob Fatu is now on Raw, and he loses the United States title at some point and goes after Jey. Maybe he's the one who beats Jey for the World Heavyweight Championship. I just think that if it is so clear to all of us watching that Jacob, I'm talking about Jacob is the future of this thing. Let the world know at WrestleMania 41 by having him beat LA Knight and win the championship. And you can start the solo Jacob split literally the Friday after Mania. You could do it the Monday after Mania if you wanted to. But I think let that split happen after Jacob wins the title, but give him WrestleMania. That's what I would like to see. Jade Cargill versus Naomi. I think Naomi has been doing, the work that Naomi's been doing is just unbelievable. I am so impressed by what Naomi has been doing. I think that Naomi has really had a pretty flawless transition into being a heel, especially since Naomi is somebody that people don't naturally want to boo for. People love Naomi. But Naomi has done so much to build this story and make this story something special and make this story, frankly, WrestleMania worthy. I think Jade Cargill will win. I think that much like Jacob Fatu, Jade Cargill beating Naomi is really the beginning at WrestleMania of her big career as a single star. Now it's time to see if she can make it as a top-tier singles star. But I think it starts with beating Naomi. But all that said, Naomi deserves the world for what she has done in this build-up. War Raiders versus New Day. I think they should get the tag team championship. I think that this should be the payoff, unless you're going to have Big E do something spectacular, and I don't think you are, because he's a broadcaster now. Unless Big E's going to come in and cost New Day or something like that. I think New Day win the tag team championship, and coming off of WrestleMania, we can start to push New Day forward using all, because it feels like after they had that amazing segment with Big E, they really haven't hit what's next. They've just been kind of living in that space of being heels, and that's okay. Because if you get this moment at WrestleMania, they become the tag team champions. Now you push them as a major heel tag team act. I think that's the way to go. And Rey Mysterio versus Grande Americano. I would feel like Rey Mysterio would win and Grande might be unmasked. I mean, if you want to keep going with Grande, then you could definitely have him get sneaky, maybe unmask Rey. We don't see him. Rey covers his face and get the roll-up or something like that. It's possible. But I have Rey beating him. So I'm going to count right now because I wasn't really thinking about it. But, okay, so I would say Seth is a heel. Jey is a babyface. Charlotte is a heel. I guess Jacob is technically a heel, but he'll be a babyface after this. Jade's a babyface. New Day is a heel. Rey is a babyface. So out of 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7 matches, 4 are heel wins, 3 are babyface wins. So it's as close as you're going to get, right? Sunday WrestleMania. I'm going to get to that last. Sunday WrestleMania, Liv and Raquel versus Bayley and Lyra. I have Liv and Raquel winning that one, and I'd love to see Bayley and Lyra start to split. I think either Bayley or Lyra should be a heel. One of the two. And honestly, I would flip a coin. I think Bayley is a phenomenal heel. Feels like she was a heel not too long ago. That's the only reason that I would pause it. But I think either Bayley or Lyra should turn heel here, or at least start, right? I think Liv and Raquel should win, and either Bayley or Lyra blame the other for the loss. I feel like Logan Paul beats AJ Styles, and then there's something after the match so that Logan still looks like a fool and AJ looks heroic. But unless you're going with AJ Styles as a world title guy next, I just feel like Logan, for as seldom as he wrestles, he's not in the WWE to consistently lose. And I think this is one that they give him. You know how I feel, by the way. It's Finn Balor, Dominic Mysterio, Braun Breaker, and Penta. Mark my words, because this is being like, depending on where you go, people are like, oh, there's a wild fan theory out there that Dominic could pin Finn Balor in the 4-way. Everybody needs to know that wild fan theory, if a fan started it, it was a fan who heard me say it on this podcast. I was explaining that would be the finish of this match before the 4-way was announced. 2 weeks, maybe more, before they announced that this was the 4-way. I said, Breaker spears Finn. Penta takes out Breaker. They go to the outside. Dom sees what's going on, hits a frog splash on Finn. Dom wins the match. Dom wins the IC title. Dom claims that he was doing it to make sure that the IC title stayed in the Judgment Day, and he realized he had an opportunity. Finn leaves the Judgment Day. And if you want to keep Dom a heel, you could have Finn get beaten out of the Judgment Day, like they all jump him. Or you could have Finn and then Finn's a babyface. I don't know. There's a million things you could do. But I think that's the end of Finn in Judgment Day. I think Liv celebrates with Dom. But I think that is the finish. Dominic wins the Intercontinental Championship by pinning Finn Balor. That's the finish. It's not like, it's the obvious finish to me. But know if it happens, know if you hear other people talking about it, understand. Nobody was saying it before me. Not one person. You got Drew McIntyre versus Damian Priest. I'd like to see Drew McIntyre win that one. Wouldn't be surprised if Damian Priest won, but I'd like to see Drew McIntyre win. Oh my God, I have all heels winning so far? Ooh. Maybe Io Sky does pull it out. I think that's the way it should be. That should be the babyface win, right? So the babyface, I think the babyface win is Io Sky wins because Rhea Ripley and Bianca Belair are distracted with each other. And Io Sky wins and retains the women's world championship. And then I'm going to have Cody Rhodes beating John Cena. I'm going to be that guy, okay? I'm going to be that guy who says it. Now it's on the record. Now it's in this microphone. Now it's on tape forever. Now it's on video. I've got Cody Rhodes beating heel John Cena at WrestleMania. I want to see Cody win. I don't want to see Cody as a good guy, lose another WrestleMania. I want Cody Rhodes to beat John Cena at WrestleMania. I think Cody Rhodes should beat John Cena at WrestleMania. And I think it should just make John more furious. Cody Rhodes over John Cena. So I have Cody Rhodes, Io Sky, Drew McIntyre, Dominic Mysterio, Logan Paul, Liv and Raquel as my Sunday victors. And then I think that on Sunday, you will get Randy Orton versus somebody. I believe Randy Orton will have a match. Listen, they were really teasing Nick Aldis on SmackDown. And we talked last week about the idea of Nick Aldis being the guy. Unless Nick Aldis says, I'm picking this guy to wrestle for me, like, you know what I mean? He picks like somebody returning. You know, there are rumors about a Rusev and Aleister Black, somebody like that, whether it's somebody else that we don't know is coming back, whether it's whatever. Or it's Nick. Nick Aldis has to be involved. He may put the tights on himself. I feel like that'll be a Sunday match as well. And I think Randy probably wins, depending on who it is, I suppose. It's hard to call that one. You got your Hall of Fame inductors too, by the way. Shawn Michaels is inducting Triple H, and I think it's smart that they did this big announcement here because, you know, they're moving tickets for the Hall of Fame. I think that's one of the reasons why they realized we should put matches in the Hall of Fame. Number one, it's legit. But number two, then you can get Stone Cold Steve Austin and Bret the Hitman Hart at this show. People buy tickets to it. It's very smart. Shawn Michaels inducting Triple H, no brainer. Undertaker inducting Michelle McCool. Undertaker's her husband. I mean, you know, you could get Layla to induct her, and I hope Layla's in the audience because Lay Cool was the best. But if you're paying for a ticket to go to the Hall of Fame, it would make sense that The Undertaker would induct Michelle McCool. CM Punk is inducting Bret Hart and Steve Austin. I love that. I think, again, it elevates the star power, but also it makes sense. Who's a bigger Bret Hart fan than CM Punk? Who draws more parallels to Stone Cold Steve Austin than CM Punk? Who would realistically respect that match more than CM Punk? I mean, unless you're going to do like, I don't know. I mean, who else would you do? Ken Shamrock? I don't know if Ken Shamrock realized the levity of the match just because he was the referee in that match. You know, I think that's the right call. I love the CM Punk call. And then DDP is going to induct Lex Luger, which makes sense. Lex Luger has been a big part of DDP Yoga. Of course, Lex and DDP were together in WCW and everything. I think, you know, Sting was a name that was on everybody's lips. But, I mean, realistically, with Sting being kind of AEW's guy, I think it would be a tough ask for WWE. I think it would be a tough for AEW to say yes to. I mean, you know, there's a lot working against it. And then we don't know who's inducting the natural disasters. But I hope it's Tugboat's son. That's what I hope. That's who I hope inducts them. So that's your WrestleMania weekend. I can't wait. I really can't wait. You know, last weekend, and I didn't talk about it because we recorded the podcast before Dynasty was on, because those AEW pay-per-views go late. But a lot of people upset that Swerve did not win the championship. A lot of people tuned in to Dynasty to watch Swerve beat Mox and the Death Riders thing to come to an end. You know, there's been a lot of people who feel like this Death Riders thing has been a failed experiment. And that has kind of happened multiple times for AEW, trying to do like pseudo takeover angles. But in this one, they've actually combined the pseudo takeover angles. Swerve lost the match. The Young Bucks came back and they interfered. And now there's a joining of the Death Riders and the Elite. And what we saw on Dynamite was that it spilled over into Kenny Omega being like, no, Young Bucks, I'm not on your side anymore. But what I thought was really fascinating is, as much as people, and, you know, I'm the biggest Swerve fan there is. He's been here in Notsam Studio. I think he's amazing and only gets better and better and better. And as his shoes get bigger, he continues to fill those shoes easily and needing to get bigger shoes. But what really struck me was that even after he didn't win the title, even after this crowning, you know, he gets to be a two-time champion now, it didn't happen. When he was standing in the ring with Kenny Omega, he struck me as belonging there. He struck me as an equal. He didn't strike me as the moment being bigger than him. he struck me as Kenny Omega and Swerve are in that elite crop of top baby faces in AEW. I mean, honestly, what is it? Ospreay, Omega, Swerve. Hangman Page is in there too, but right now, to me, those are the big three. Those are the big three to me. Ospreay, Omega, Swerve are the big three. And to say that Swerve is in that big three, and I personally think that, and I can't say that I believe it was an intentional thing, but the results are the results, as we've been talking about, all day here on the show. Swerve losing, I believe, made Swerve a bigger star. I think he gained even more respect from the audience because I think we all realized how much we wanted it to happen when it didn't happen. Not that we didn't know we wanted it to happen, but when we didn't get it, it was like, man, I got that feeling. I really wanted it to happen. I mean, it's interesting because you got to go, okay, well, people clearly hate the Death Riders, right? And I do think that as time goes on, it feels more like they're getting the type of heat you need to have people buy a ticket to see them lose. Because that's what you want. You don't want just like, I hate this. This is annoying. You want, I want to buy a ticket to see them lose. And I think right now they're in a spot where people will buy a ticket to see them lose. Now that they didn't lose to Swerve, people really want to see them lose. And the logical thing would be All In, right? That they're waiting for All In Texas. What's that, in like July or something like that? If they were doing All In next month or at the end of this month or like a month from now, let's say, then I would be like, yeah, they're going to go in with a lot of good momentum. They got to save this for a couple months. And they have to know if we didn't take that moment with Swerve, you better be damn sure you have a big moment. Feels like Ospreay is going to be the moment, but it felt like Swerve was going to be the moment. There better be a great plan to maintain this level of interest for a couple of months and then have a huge moment plan to make up for what we didn't get earlier. I mean, Darby Allin is a name that's come up. And look, I think once Darby Allin climbs down from Mount Everest, which he's climbing, whenever Darby Allin returns, he's going to be he'll be massive when he returns. But I don't think that we're waiting for Darby Allin to finish climbing Mount Everest before this Death Riders thing goes away. I might be wrong, but I don't think so. But, we'll see. I think that there is a lot of really interesting stuff going on over there. I think the MJF Hurt Syndicate thing is fun. I think the Hangman stuff kind of looming over multiple people, but over Swerve, over MJF. Like Hangman is this guy that has these forever rivalries that keep kind of poking up and stuff. Once you're in a rivalry with Hangman, it never goes away. Like there is stuff going on. So my thing is that I'm very interested to see what AEW looks like post Death Riders. Because it could be great. I don't know. But like I'm very interested to see what that time frame looks like. Speaking of time frames, by the way, I would like to say that one of my favorite time frames in wrestling, because it's when I was a kid, was chronicled. The Wrestlemania IX documentary came out on Peacock. And I thought it was just a phenomenal documentary. It was one of those that all of them to a degree are projects that I'm blown away to even sniff, let alone get to talk on camera for. Being in wrestling documentaries is beyond a trip for me, like insane, A&E, wherever. But for this one specifically, because I've loved WrestleMania 9 so much, and that's documented all over the place. But it was really interesting to me because, number one, they have all this amazing footage that nobody's ever seen. I mean, tapes upon tapes upon tapes. What I never knew was that WrestleMania 9 was the first WrestleMania that they actually had camera guys just shoot what was going on backstage for a documentary, for whatever. It's just like, let's just record this so we have it. And so there's all this footage, and there is nothing like that for this new generation era. You don't see footage like this. I mean, I remember, and this was Beyond the Mat was chronicling like 98, 99. This is 90. There's a 6 or 7 years, 6 years, say, before Beyond the Mat. When that footage in Beyond the Mat from like 1998 came out of like Vince instructing Dude Love how to strut, why the shot's not clean. Like when you started to see just those little bits of footage, Vince Russo showing Sable how to sell her back. I mean, for fans, it was, I mean, put it right into my veins. It was the most amazing thing that you had ever seen. So this idea, because you didn't see any of it. These documentaries weren't just ever, you didn't see any of this. So this idea that like this era that wasn't documented in that way, you know, you hear stories now, but that you can actually see this footage of a young Undertaker glaring at the camera because they're shooting him when he's out of character, of Macho Man never dropping the voice, of Shawn Michaels, of Mr. Perfect, of Lex Luger, all these guys that you just don't see that footage of. It was unbelievable. And then to also contextualize WrestleMania 9, because WrestleMania 9 gets made fun of a lot. People don't like WrestleMania 9. It's on everybody's WrestleMania sucks list. Here are the WrestleManias that suck. And they go WrestleMania 9. That didn't occur to me until I was much older. I had no idea people hated WrestleMania 9. I loved WrestleMania 9. I thought it was the best. I was 9 when I watched it. Saw it live. I thought it was awesome. Doink Crush, amazing. Hogan coming back. I was 9 years old. I thought that was great. I didn't get any of it. I didn't get the politics of it. I thought it was awesome. And they do a good job in the doc of like showing fans in the building going, that was awesome. I'm so happy Hogan's back. Like, that was real. You know, they weren't selling tickets. And then they announced Hogan was coming back and people bought tickets. That's real. It just is. It's just facts. So I thought that was fascinating, but I also thought it was fascinating that I had never. So I have been like, when I was talking to the guys that were doing it, I was like, well, what are you just like making fun of WrestleMania 9? Because I was like, you know, I don't. And they were like, no. And they kind of explained what this is, which is their kind of concept was that WrestleMania 9 was the first kind of spectacle WrestleMania. That it was the first like event that almost lived in its own vacuum. Right? The before WrestleMania, like now you see WrestleMania and you can, like, everything looks different. And you can know just by looking at a shot. Like WrestleMania 40, one frame of footage from WrestleMania 40, you'll know it was WrestleMania 40. WrestleMania 39 the same way. WrestleMania 31 the same way. WrestleMania 34 with the 33 with the globe, 34 with the big New Orleans mask. Like all of WrestleMania's it became such a spectacular. It became such a spectacle. But before WrestleMania 9, it was just a big WWE show, right? Even WrestleMania 3, I mean, the fact that it was 93,000 fans, or depending on who you ask, but the fact that it was in the Silver Dome, of course, made it larger than life. But ultimately, it was just a larger presentation of the show. WrestleMania 9 was really that first, like, what if we made it into like a spectacle? What if we made it into a huge entertainment thing? What if we did this? What if we did that? And it was really interesting to look at it from that point of view. But I have had many people reach out to me, and I really appreciate it, who watched it, who enjoyed it. I would highly, highly recommend it. I think that they did a great job. And if you watch it, feel free to email me. My email address is notsamwrestling@gmail.com. That's notsamwrestling@gmail.com. You can email me. And now, we are going to be doing podcasts, of course. You know, I'm going to have some kind of podcast. I'm recording equipment with me in New Orleans. I'm in Las Vegas. I don't exactly know how I'm going to get it all done. I would imagine that we'll have emergency podcasts after WrestleMania, right? I mean, we'll do WrestleMania recap podcast with Megan. And then I would imagine I'll leave there and do another podcast. I would think I might. I would imagine I'll record the next week's episode still, because I'll be in Vegas through Tuesday. So I would imagine whenever I record next week's episode, it'll be in Vegas, I would think. But we'll see. We'll see how it all works out. Let's get to these emails. NotSamWrestling@gmail.com. NotSamWrestling@gmail.com. Michael writes in, Michael from North Carolina. He says, I'm looking at the price of Mania tickets and they're really expensive. Not sure I can afford it. Do you wade through the marsh of a high credit card bill or is it a hard pass? I'd really like to sit front row because I got 6 wrestling tickets or 6 wrestling friends I'd like to crow to. Some folks have it easy. I got a friend named Lee who is a good man and he goes every year, but he's a Nepo baby. He's never taken one off a turnbuckle in his life. Decisions. How would you play it? Bro, you got to get to WrestleMania however you're going to get to WrestleMania. Don't put yourself out. Don't put yourself in a bad financial place. But if you can get there, get there. Because going to a live WrestleMania is one of those once in a, especially nowadays, like, I don't know, coming out of the pandemic, I swear, like, WrestleMania 38, 39, 40 were all like religious experiences for me. Before that, it was, 35 was amazing. Yeah, 34, 33, 32. Like, those are the things. I've been to, here are the WrestleManias I was at live. 20, 24, 29, 30, 31, 32, 33, 34, 35, 38, 39, 40. So WrestleMania 41 will be my 13th WrestleMania I've been able to see live. I am so fortunate and count my lucky stars. It's dumb that I've been able to do that. It's insane. I am so unbelievably fortunate to have been able to see 13 WrestleManias live. Of all the wrestling shows that I've been to, including all of those WrestleManias, I know exactly where I was, how I felt, everything about those WrestleManias. I've been to every other show you can think of. I've been to Survivor Series, SummerSlam, Raw, SmackDown, house shows, everything. WWE, AEW, ECW. I never went to a WCW show. Independence. Never been to New Japan. Pro Wrestling Guerrilla. Ring of Honor. And there's something about being at a live WrestleMania. I remember how I felt. I remember where I was. I remember what I was thinking. I remember, and yeah, 30, they've all affected my life differently. It's crazy. It's crazy. If you can get there, get there. And by the way, tickets are expensive. I get it. But like, just make sure you put aside like $30. So if you're going, you go to see the live Notsam Wrestling podcast at the Comedy Cellar in Vegas on Thursday before WrestleMania. That's this Thursday. Aaron writes in, first off, I acknowledge you as my podcast tribal chief. Drew McIntyre and Damian Priest had an incredible segment on SmackDown once again and have really made their WrestleMania match one of my most anticipated matches of the weekend. I think both of them have done an unbelievable job. The ending of their brawl saw Drew rip Damian's cross necklace off his neck, and instantly my mind went to Andre the Giant ripping Hulk Hogan's cross off his neck, leading to their WrestleMania match. Given the fact that everything counts, do you think this was an intentional parallel to Andre and Hogan? And if so, what connections are we supposed to make between the two feuds? It's a great question, Aaron. Everything counts. I believe 10,000% that this was done intentionally. However, I don't think it's necessarily, I think it's just meant to draw the parallel. This is a WrestleMania rivalry. I don't think it's like, oh, this is a modern day Andre Hogan. This is Damian Priest and Drew McIntyre. Two students of the game. Two people who eat, sleep, and breathe pro wrestling. Two people that did everything they possibly could to get to the WWE. Two people that you could sit down with and just talk about wrestling until you pass out on the floor. I think one of them said to the other, rip off the cross, it'll be like Andre and Hogan. And it's just one of those fun things that they get to do. That's my take on it. I don't know, but that's what I think. Joe writes in, I was just watching WrestleMania 35, and I thought, why wouldn't Paul Heyman want to team with Seth? He saw him beat a prime Brock. Roman has never beaten him. He changed the course of last year's WrestleMania. He may not be the top of the industry, but to a Paul Heyman, he's had nothing but losses to Seth. If I was Paul, I think he was amazing. Well, he is amazing. Seth Rollins is amazing. Paul Heyman would be an idiot to not think Seth Rollins is amazing. The question is, would Paul turn on CM Punk and Roman Reigns for Seth Rollins? He can't have everything. He said he loves Roman Reigns. He said he will always be loyal to his best friend CM Punk. So you would have to tell, and if Paul Heyman turns on them and goes with Seth Rollins, he would have to cut a promo explaining why it wasn't disloyal, which would be just genius level works of Paul Heyman. Now, it would be fun if Paul Heyman was with Seth Rollins, because then Seth Rollins on TV every week. We get Paul Heyman every single week. Heidi from St. Louis, I emailed a few weeks ago and told you to, and you told me to write back since I listened to Podcast Tribal Chief. Your response to my Raw recap question was answered beautifully, and I thank you for breaking down the bloodline of Not Sam shows. My answer to your question is 100% yes. Please do a live show in St. Louis. I will definitely be in attendance if I can afford it, because I'm a broke college student and would like to attend Backlash as well. Nonetheless, have a great WrestleMania week. I can't wait for that Not Sam Backlash live pod announcement. Well, Heidi, I would love to do it. I have no plans as of right now, but obviously I would love to do it. And I appreciate you, Heidi. At some point, our paths will cross. Avik writes in, what's the haps from London? You were right. Cena's in black. I mean, he wears sports team colors. They put out the Cena merch for Las Vegas. It's in black. Raiders is the team. That's the stadium that they're in. It's not necessarily Raiders themed. It's more Vegas themed, but it's a black. And I'm sure that that's not about being a heel. That's about being in Vegas and the team wearing black. As of now, which matches will open the show? Okay, that's a great question. Which matches will open the show? Let me get my list back out. Okay. Saturday. You have Jey Gunther night 1, Ray and Chad night 2. Both of those matches are happening night 1, though. I don't think Jey and Gunther is going to open the show. You know, Charlotte and Tiffany might open night 1. I would not be shocked if Charlotte and Tiffany opened night 1, because you want to separate Jey and Gunther from Charlotte and Tiffany. I would not be surprised if Charlotte and Tiffany open night 1. Night 2, I might have the ladies open back-to-back. I might have Rhea, Io, and Bianca open night 2. You could have Drew and Damian open night 2, but I think the Intercontinental Championship is a good night 2 open as well. Maybe I do Intercontinental to open night 2 and Charlotte and Tiffany to open night 1. Ronan writes in from Massachusetts. I acknowledge you as my OPTC, even though Gunther may not. That was rough with Gunther, huh? You watch Raw Recap? Check it out. Io has a ton of fan support heading into Mania, and I would hate for that momentum to taper off after a loss. What I'd like to see for Io is to win at WrestleMania, and for Julia to debut on Raw after Mania. So Julia's back. She's on Stand and Deliver. I think they're doing a Fatal 4-Way, right? It's Julia, it's Stephanie Vaquer, it's Jordan Grace, and it's Jada Parker. I couldn't be more excited for Jada Parker. I'm the biggest Jada Parker fan. I think we were all thinking in terms of Julia, in terms of Stephanie, in terms of Jordan Grace. The fact that Jada Parker is in there with them, that's what NXT is all about. I'm so happy about that. This would set up a dream match while also propelling Julia to superstardom right away. Am I crazy for thinking this will happen? It could happen. It could happen. Not definite, but I will tell you, I want to see Io retain as well. Devontae writes in, regular viewer of your podcast. Appreciate that. Something that just came to mind was Randy versus Sheamus at WrestleMania 41. They both need an opponent at WrestleMania. It would no doubt be a banger. Sheamus gets overlooked when it comes to PLE matches nowadays, and I think this would be a great opportunity for him. Sheamus would be a good pick. I just feel like they just teased Nick Aldis so heavily, Hello to the original podcast tribal chief. Oh, hello. I will say this to you. I've been blown away by the LWO's work recently. And do you see them getting more opportunities moving forward? I do. I absolutely do. I think they were really great on Raw in that match that you're talking about. And I think that, look, I mean, Ray getting his match with El Grande Americano on WrestleMania is an indication that they're taking the LWO seriously. So I think that that's big. That's too long. Let's go to this one. Fatu is my notification sound. Fatu! Could you see Cena win the title and Randy return to the Legend Killer, taking him out? Maybe not even for the belt. Maybe, but I could see Randy is a legend. It wouldn't make sense for him to be the Legend Killer at this point, but I mean, I could see Randy facing John Cena for the championship. Not at WrestleMania, separately from it. I don't think that night he'd come out and do anything, but I don't think it would be a Legend Killer type of scenario, personally. It would just be Randy and John. Scott writes in, just watched the April 7th Raw. Yeah, it was last week. And the promo where Jey Uso toasted Gunther was electric. I had chills, found myself applauding after sitting on the couch at home. I love that. You were right. Thank God, Scott. Thank God. Who's writing in from Tasmania, Australia? You guys need to listen to people in Tasmania. Clip this. You were right. This build is something. I mean, these people. Oh, Sam must be an idiot. No, I'm so much smarter than you that you haven't caught up yet. Isn't that funny? You guys who listen every week, you guys that acknowledge me as the OPTC, you guys understand what's going on because you guys are kind of half geniuses yourself. But these people, if you go on social media and you say I'm an idiot for a wrestling thing that I say, are you crazy? All you're proving is how much smarter I can't even. And while it won't be the main event, I think this could be an all-time match. Watching Gunther stay silent and look confused and saddened with everything Jey said was disarming. It was alarming to me, and it set the stage beautifully. My question is, if this match goes the way of Jey, what could be next for Gunther? I think I was ready for Gunther to become a babyface before this. And I think that maybe they decided not to turn him to a babyface because they wanted this Jey thing to happen. I think Gunther's got to be a babyface. I think starting to show this sensitive side is a good way to start to get there. But that's where I see it. I see Gunther becoming a babyface after WrestleMania. And I see him being in a scenario where maybe Ludwig tries to do something. Maybe somebody tries to do something and expects Gunther to be on their side, and Gunther says no. Gunther has a heart. I think Gunther's going to be a babyface. I really do. People love Gunther, and I think I think a lot of people don't want to keep booing him. So that's kind of what I think. All right, last one. This is coming from Matthew. My podcast tribal chief, I love with Cody going on Saturday. Cody is not going on Saturday. That tells me he retains. And the triple threat says Punk wins. No, it doesn't. Punk comes out during Cody's. Why did you write? This email is not last. I mean, the whole premise of the email is flawed. Punk comes out during Cody's Raw after WrestleMania promo, calls him out, reminding him he's here for the money and not friends, leads to SummerSlam. Do you guys listen? I got to go to another email. When was this sent? It was sent this week. Do you guys listen? I specifically said, what are you talking about? CM Punk cuts a promo the night after WrestleMania, and it leads to a match with Cody at SummerSlam. So what happens in May, June, or July? SummerSlam's in August. And he just comes out and cuts a promo in April and goes let's have a match in August? This whole email is ridiculous. Cody's not going on Saturday. I don't know why you wrote that. And a triple threat doesn't say that Punk wins. It says Cody has already fought Rollins and Reigns. Cody's not even on the same show as Punk. Nothing about this triple threat says the winner is going to fight Cody. They're on different shows. CM Punk and Seth Rollins are Raw guys. Cody's a SmackDown guy. What difference would it make? This is a crazy email, Matthew. This is nuts. All right, Caleb. First off, I want to say thank you for your podcast. It's literally my number one podcast for wrestling. Honestly, it should be your number one podcast for also me telling people what an appropriate email is as well. Email etiquette. Your analysis has been so rewarding for me and my feelings with the new era product of WWE. I love this email so far, which I believe started back in 2022 with WrestleMania 38 and the shift that took place then. I've always said this era started with Cody Rhodes returning at WrestleMania 38. That's the beginning of this era. People don't like it. That's the beginning of the era. Sorry. Then when I got back into watching this again, shout out to the Tribal Chief Roman Reigns. His character in the Bloodline story brought me back to WWE, of course. Also, shout out to you and Megan Morant. Boom. Shout out to Megan Morant. You both do such a great job together, in my opinion. You guys are the real greatest tag team of all time. I like Demolition a lot, but me and Megan are great. Secondly, if we're talking about one of your rules, which is speculate wildly, these are the 3 rules, right? Everything counts. Oh, everything counts is the third one. Watch the product, speculate wildly, everything counts. My question is, do you think the final boss could add a stipulation to the main event of Cody Rhodes and John Cena to be a no disqualification match like what happened at WrestleMania 17 as a way to pay homage to the heel turn of Austin? This comes to mind after watching 17 recently and acknowledging the storyline of ruining wrestling with the final boss wanting his own champion. What are your thoughts? It's possible. I don't think that they'll necessarily make that parallel, but I do think, we haven't heard from The Rock. We haven't heard a sniff from him. Well, we heard a sniff from him. My man's walking around on Instagram with a New Japan Pro Wrestling t-shirt on. Shout out to DJ wearing his New Japan Pro Wrestling t-shirt while he Rubik's Cubes. That's not a mistake. What is DJ doing in a New Japan Pro Wrestling shirt playing with a Rubik's Cube? Anyway, I think that we haven't heard from The Rock, the final boss, since Elimination Chamber. There's no guarantee that he's going to be at WrestleMania. I don't think he has to be at WrestleMania. I think John Cena versus Cody Rhodes has evolved to the point where if The Rock's not there, it's fine. If The Rock is there, we got a cake with extra icing. If The Rock is going to be at WrestleMania, there's also a point. He could be at SmackDown. And if The Rock is at SmackDown, he could show up as a surprise and announce some kind of no disqualification stipulation. Yeah, I think that's entirely possible. I don't think that it's something that I'll go like, that's what I think is going to happen, but it's certainly possible and worth a discussion. We're going to have so many discussions this week. I can't wait. We are here. It is time. Get ready. Buckle in. Let's have a great WrestleMania week, and I will talk to you very, very soon. Thank you, guys.